Alright, hello everyone again. Uh, now, just to preface, I'm a little muddled right now because I burnt out playing Destiny 2 earlier, and it is like 3:30 in the middle of the night. But, if y'all bear with me, I kind of had this video at least in the back of my mind in the works since the first Empyrean video that I made, the Railjack one. Because shortly after I made that first video, they released update 29.10 on PC, and that had a whole slew of Railjack changes. And here, today, tomorrow, technically, however you want to count it, it's after 12, so it's today. They're going to be releasing update 30 across all platforms, the Call of the Tempestari, which is going to expound further on the Railjack stuff they changed, and also add Sevagoth, which is going to be awesome. And so what I basically kind of want to do here is just show all the new stuff, roughly. Obviously not all the new stuff, because I'd have to jump through all 3-4 Proxima regions, and that's not exactly pertinent to do. So I'm just going to show you some, like, dry dock stuff here, and then show off one of the new mission types. So, first of all, they added a new component, the plating, which is essentially your Railjack's base health and armor. And honestly, the best plating you can get is Levon Mark III. Any other variant is gonna be way weaker. Like, yeah, Vidar here has more armor, but math-wise, you want probably more hull than armor. They added some new weapon types. They added the Plexus here, which allows you to mod your Railjack, or rather, mod yourself for using a Railjack. So, whether this is on your Railjack or someone else's, you get access to these mods. So, I've got mine where the aura gives hull and armor and shield regen, and then I got my stuff set for using guns and ordnance. My battle avionics are munitions vortex, particle ram, void hole, and technically these are mods now, not avionics, but I'm still used to calling them avionics. And then for tactical, I've got Form Up, Death Blossom, and Void Cloak. Then another thing that they added was the Command Intrinsic, which the intrinsic system is basically there to give you some extra benefits while playing. So engineering makes it so that you can repair your ship better. Gunnery is obvious, you do better with guns. Piloting is obvious. Tactical, you get special utility boosts. Command lets you have an AI crew. And these are my crewmates. Gehenno from the Red Veil, and then from the Steel Meridian, I've got Ordiger Amob and Toss Rahog. Both of them are excellent gunners. As you can see, they got 5 stats. Whereas Gehenno here is great at repair, and he will also probably murder anyone who boards the ship. But, getting that stuff out of the way, most of my Railjack loadout is the same as before, except now I have more actual battle avionics since they don't take up capacity on the Plexus, which is nice. DE did something amazing there. They did also change the interior layout of the Railjack. So now instead of having little slopes down here on either side for the gun turrets, you have one that leads up, and then one that leads down. And then the back here has also been cut down. And you still have the Arcwing Slingshot up back here. But down here you have the forge. So, with all that out of the way, let's hop into a mission. And for demonstration, I'm going to be doing Numina in the Veil Proxima. As you can see, I haven't unlocked all the Corpus missions in the Veil Proxima, but I got lazy. So, alongside some of the more overarching changes to Railjack gameplay, they also designed the new Corpus missions with a different gameplay paradigm. If you probably recall from my last video on Railjack, I stated something along the lines of it's 30 minutes of dogfighting and then 30 minutes of jumping onto various points of interest and killing everything in there. Now it's more like 5 minutes of Railjack content, dogfighting, whatever, and then 30 minutes roughly of standard Warframe gameplay. And also, points of interest are guaranteed, which has to do with the new mission types, and optional points of interest like these are basically around so that you can get extra loot, some of which are exclusive to these secondary points of interest. Of note, there are 2 really potent new mods, Internal Bleeding and Hemorrhage, which I do have on my Kuva Chakur here. If I can shoot near enemies. And what these new mods do is whenever you trigger an impact status, you have a small chance to also bleed the target. And the chance to bleed also increases, rather doubles, if the fire rate of the weapon is below 2.5 rounds per second. Barring the optional points of interest, these new Corpus Railjack missions, basically you have to do specific objectives to get onto the main point of interest, in this case the Corpus Pillar Ship. And in this case I have to sabotage that point of interest down there and take out 2 cruise ships. Also, as with the Grenier Railjack missions, some of the higher tier cruise ships can spawn with basically an energy barrier that needs to be destroyed before you can actually damage or enter the cruise ship in the case of sabotage. As it stands, I personally don't see any reason to jump into cruise ships, since they can fairly easily be taken out with the forward artillery here. And it also takes much less time. In addition, with the specific mission type that I'm doing right now, Volatile, uh, there is the chance that a cruise ship will come up. I think it's more or less guaranteed, actually, but a cruise ship will spawn in, and you will get the optional objective to break into it and steal security credentials from its captain. And this is pretty much the only time I can justify boarding a cruise ship.
I want torpedoes armed and dispatched now.
And in order to destroy the cruise ship, you basically just need to fulfill some small side objective to get this reactor core open. Take care of whatever other business you have on the ship, such as getting those credentials, and then shoot the reactor. Don't know why it was having difficulty registering my shots, but whatever. And now that that cruise ship is going to blow, I can go down here and take down this ice driver.
Let's soften them up. Torpedoes. Fire.
And then, once I get done with this little objective, I'll be able to board the Corpus pillar ship and start the actual Volatile mission. Which, without spoiling necessarily, Volatile is a unique version of Sabotage, which honestly is kind of a hit or miss in terms of the actual gameplay, but
Data grid is exposed.
you'll see when I get to it. For now, though, I have to kill Corpus Secura drones that are jamming my signal and avoid getting hit by those purple energy spheres, since those seem to disrupt the signal as well. Much more completely than the Secura drones, which is confusing.
Drones. Report in. Jamming drones.
Those jamming drones are a serious problem. Progress halted.
Those drones were our data grid's best defense. Disruption was successful.
Progress halted. Jamming drones.
Torpedoes primed. Stand by to salvage the remains.
Also, can I just say, the AI crewmates, they are just an absolute blessing, because as you can see, my Railjack is taking hits, but with Gehenno basically working overtime to keep the ship stable, I could literally just park it in the middle of an entire navy of Corpus ships and still be good. So now, I can make my way onto the ship.
Let's soften them up. Torpedoes. Fire.
And notice how my Railjack's health has turned completely gray. It is now currently immune to all damage, and the fighters outside should eventually despawn, if not just get shot to hell by my 2 Steel Meridian gunners. And that facet of the new Railjack gameplay is kind of divisive for people from what I've seen. Because some people are of the idea that, you know, with these Corpus Railjack missions, that turns the Railjack into a glorified taxi, so you have an extended loading screen between actual missions. On the one hand, that sounds fair, like that's a fair statement to make, but on the other, Grineer Railjack missions aren't much different in that you get done with the dogfights and then find someplace safe to park your Railjack where nothing's going to shoot at it, and then do whatever, like, objectives there are outside of your Railjack. So I don't feel like it's necessarily a net negative, but I will say that it does feel like there's a bit of a disproportionate amount of standard Warframe gameplay compared to Railjack right now. Like, I feel like there could be much more Railjack. As for the Volatile mission, as you can see, I came up in here, hacked a terminal, and then now I'm basically keeping a heat gauge within a certain point that is slowly getting smaller and also killing the occasional engineer. And it's meh. Like, it is somewhat more engaging than standard sabotage missions where you go unplug the things and then plug in a different thing, and depending on that you either just wait a few minutes if you have the alarms off, wait a few minutes and kill some things so that they don't kill some things, or you just shoot a bunch of fuel cells to destroy the ship, and it's... Volatile certainly isn't what I would call one of the stronger modes in the Railjack retrofit update. One other thing of note is that with the primary mission of these new Railjack missions is I can't use the Omni to recall to the Railjack. I can only do so once I've already left the Corpus ship. And I mean, with Volatile there is one last stage, but functionally that is the new Railjack. Because all I have to do now is use my forward artillery to blast 2 specific parts of the ship. And then the mission will be done and I can just head back over to the dojo. There are some other changes to Railjack gameplay, such as flux energy not being a thing, reactors working more like ability modifiers to your Railjack, so increased duration, increased strength, increased range, etc. But for the most part, it is kind of just same old, although with slightly less Railjack than I think is necessary. And I know with the first Railjack video that I did, I was hoping that it would come up as at least a small spectacle. But in this case, I mean, new Railjack just physically cannot be a spectacle. There's no real flashiness to it. It's just more Warframe. Either way, I do hope you enjoyed my my quick blitz through a Volatile mission in the Veil Proxima. Either that or my continuous rambling, but hope you all enjoyed it. And with that, I'm going to close out the video and enjoy my birthday today. Later.